All right, we're going to go ahead and install this Dropwing light mount onto a M4 sarmat, or traditional M4 sarmat rifle you'd find in the military with a Knight's Armament rail system. Now, it doesn't matter if you have an older version or a newer version of the Knight's Armament rail system, the carbine version for your rifle, this mount will both fit. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mount up the light. And the light we're going to use today is the new Surefire M300V Mini Scout light. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the existing mount off because we're not going to need that anymore. Just pop the 2 screws out on the side, set that aside, we don't need it. Now, how we can mount this on the rifle, we can do it a couple different ways. This is the ambidextrous mount. We can mount it in 8 locations, flipping it around. So basically 2 positions per clover around the rifle. So what we're going to do today is we're going to mount the light, dropping it down to this position. So therefore, my Pack 15 can clear the light and I can have better power authority when I need to use white light. So now that I've figured out which way I'm going to set it, I'm going to put that mount back on it. We're going to go ahead and Loctite everything that has a screw. That's just my little rule on a gun. If it's got a screw, we want to Loctite it in. Go ahead and put the supplied screws into it. And once these are set, you can go ahead and torque them down since they don't need to move at all. So that's torque there. And don't over torque them because again it is a smaller screw, but that Loctite will set and it'll be just fine. So now our light's ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and take the tail cap off right now just to help us out with the assembly. We can see what's going on here when we mount the screws. You don't have to, but it's a little bit easier. Now we're going to take the Knight's Armament rail system off the M4. Take your lower handguard off first. Pop your upper off, and we're going to be working with the upper here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these nuts which come with the Dropwing kit. As you can see, a little bit different from the other nuts. These are designed to fit into the Knight's Armament lightning cuts, which are slightly larger, but you can also use the other nuts for like Troy handguards, Midwest Industries, lots of other handguards out there that the Dropwing fits very well on, like your tube style handguards. Okay, so we're going to take the set one in there for right now. You can see where that is important, how it pops through that lightning cut. Take your light mount, sit on top. Again, we're going to Loctite those, which I already did. I'm going to screw those down. You don't need to tighten those yet. Because we want to have the flexibility here to move it around to fit it where we want it. All right, now, if you're running handguard covers, and if you're going to run the tail cap on it, which I kind of like to do, unless you really need to get ambidextrous control, which obviously is very important, you can run an SR7 or SR9 switch, which is this style switch here, which we'll throw on as well. But if you're going to use a handguard cover, insert your handguard cover on from the rear. Slide it forward. You can see where I actually took a grinder wheel and just cut this little section out. If you're going to use the tail cap, you can see where it's going to want to clear a little bit easier. It's not going to be pressing down on the rail system or the mount. Okay, so that's the only modification you may have to do if you're running these style handguard covers. Okay, so slide that back off for right now. Now we can set this low all the way down to the rail if you're not using any covers at all, or you can raise it up to the top if you'd like as well if you are running covers, or you just want to position the light another 1/4 of an inch higher or lower. Okay, so we're gonna just snug these. We're not going to tighten them down too much because we are going to have to alleviate some pressure when we do put it back on the rifle. So just leave it loose for right now. Go ahead and set it back on the rifle so your handguard can index. You see it slides up underneath. Pop that in. Okay, and now what we can do, straighten it out and go ahead and torque your screws back down. Again, you don't need to do it too tight. And now the chamfer on the light mount is actually resting just slightly above the ring assembly for the handguard. And don't worry about if this presses on your FSB or your ring. It's not going to shift the accuracy of the rifle. It's going to be just fine like that. So that is now solid. Okay. At that point, let's go ahead and put our lower handguard back on. All right, now you can run either the tail cap, which I prefer to do for me, and I'll explain why in a second, or you can run an SR series switch, whether it's the SR 7s or 9s, depending if you want to connect your PEC and your light together, or you just want to run white light power authority with just this simple system with the SR 7, or you can run the Surefire switches that come with the light, and you can tape those to foregrips or wherever you want, so you have a little bit more flexibility of where to put that. So I'm going to go ahead and put my tail cap back on, since I prefer to shoot that way. And I'm going to go ahead and slide my rail panel back on. Now I can go ahead and mount my PEC up to it. You can mount it up as far as you can get it. And with the tail cap, again, you may have one Picatinny notch back in order for this to clear right here, which is fine for me because my hands are going to be in a slightly different position. I'm going to mount the PEC in, and now we're ready to go. And that's good ergonomics for my hand. And the light is now away from the PEC and extending out farther on the carbine length weapon system. In order to give your hands better placement, instead of adding accessories to the gun and then moving our hands away, we can now make accessories to move the accessories away to where our hands really need to be on the gun. And I like to run power authority manually on the light and manual power authority on the laser. That's just my personal preference. Of course, you can add pressure switches to suit whatever your mission needs are.